Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? So I want to talk about anxiety because right now mine's just flared the hell up. And I got off the plane on Monday and I thought, hey, I'm getting off the truck, finally get some time to to myself and stuff like that. And I thought I was going to be calm and chill, but it's like now my anxiety is through the roof. It's been acting up for 2 days now. I had a I had a nightmare about me being on a truck, a semi truck. The truck was going out of control. Then part of the dream, I was carrying like a heavy object and I was outside the truck and didn't realize the truck was driving itself. So the truck started to go like a little bit out of control and it tried to jackknife, and then I'm jumping back on the truck while the truck is in drive. So that's what woke me up. And I was like, why did I have such a weird dream about trucking? So I'm starting to figure out, like, my anxiety is triggered because now I have time to think. When I'm on the truck, sometimes it triggers depending on what the situation I got going on. So it's like, if it's a stressful day, it might get a little triggered, but it's been pretty good. And now I'm thinking, well, now that I got time to just do nothing but think, it's been through the roof. It feels like a ton of bricks hit me. And just so people that don't have anxiety, they don't really understand how it works. I have generalized anxiety disorder. So that means it comes whenever it wants to. It's unpredictable. I don't know when it's going to get triggered. The times when I think it'll be triggered, it don't. My body can handle it. The times when I think I'm good is when it comes. So that's the unfortunate part about having, generalized anxiety, because there's specific types of anxiety too, where it can come based off of specific situations. Like, you got some people, their anxiety is based off of like social settings. Maybe they don't like being around social situations, or they don't like to leave their house. I forgot what it's called. I think it's agoraphobia or some shit like that. So at least with that situation, you can pinpoint the actual reason. But when you got generalized, it's like you don't really sometimes know the reason. And that's unfortunate for me because I've been trying to like think calming thoughts all day and nothing is stopping it. So I'm at Walmart right now. There has been this vitamin that does actually reduce my anxiety by like 30%. And that's called L-theanine. L-theanine. They sell it at Walmart in the form of a gummy. So when I chew it, it goes into effect maybe within like 20 minutes, and I'm a little bit more relaxed. So I was looking up that particular, what is that called? Sorry, I got a brain fart. It's called an amino acid. And L-theanine is, they sell it with GABA. So from what I learned reading some of the stuff, GABA is sort of like connected to your neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters send signals to the brain to make your brain feel like there's an issue going on, like something that you should be stressed about or fearful. So now my amygdala, which is the part of the brain that recognizes stress before the reasoning part of the brain, which is the frontal cortex. Now, I made a video about this a couple months ago or weeks ago, talking about the amygdala part of the brain and how some people are more aggressive than others because of how their transmitters hit their brain cells. So now this is all part of the nervous system. And I've had this situation since I was a teenager, but I didn't know what it was. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I got off the plane, everything's going to be good. But now what goes through my mind is, what next? I had to call about my disability, my short-term disability, since I'm going to be on my medical leave. I had to call and make appointments for that. And they were giving me a hard time. They were like, oh, we don't see you in the system. So that already triggered some of my fears that, what if I'm on home time and they give me problems with my short-term disability, because that would affect my pay. So all of these things is like going through my mind, and then it's like, okay, what do I do? Do I go back into the truck, or do I try to find another job? So I was looking up jobs yesterday, and a lot of these jobs are not paying. Well, they paying, but they're not paying what I make trucking. And I know you're like, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But I don't want to take such a huge pay cut to the point where now I'm like really struggling. You know what I mean? For me, like anything under 900 a week is struggling. Like you got other bills you got to worry about, and it's like now you gotta rob Peter to pay Paul. So I think that's what's triggering my anxiety right now, is because the unknown. The next couple of weeks is going to be the unknown. But I really need to take this time off to get my tooth done, and my teeth, not my tooth, my teeth, and to check my bladder to see what's going on, make sure everything is good. So I got to schedule a urology appointment, and my dental appointment is coming up. So all these things is like, you know, I don't know really what's to come in the next couple of weeks. I want to say part of my stress is maybe coming from the unknown of my relationship as well. We're trying to work things out, so it's like it's been going good on, you know, surprisingly it's been going good. But sometimes with me, when things are going good, I get ready for the worst. I'm like, okay, so it's going good, but is it going to get bad? You know, is something going to happen? So it's all these fears, and I just have to come to grips with actually being real with myself and talking about it. And it helps to soothe me if I know what's going on in my brain. But people will say, okay, well, you have anxiety, just, you know, just calm down. And it's like, it's not that easy, because these signals that the brain shoots off, they're involuntary. You know, I'm not making them happen in my brain. My brain is already pre-wired to send these signals as soon as my brain has a thought of what if. It doesn't even have to be in full fear or full stress. It's like, it's just a default setting at this point, especially people with anxiety or any of these type of disorders, where it's just a default setting that we have in our brain when something is about to happen and we're not sure. We might default to the worst, or the fear or fight or flight. And there's a norepinephrine is a signal, it's a hormone. So this hormone it sends a neurotransmitter to the brain when it is activated. And how it gets activated is just by thoughts. It could be something as small as, what if this happens? Or what if this don't work out? Once you entertain that thought, and you don't even realize you might be entertaining it, because sometimes thoughts just come out of just come out of nowhere. Once it entertains that thought, it's really hard to go backwards. It's really hard to say, well, let me stop. No, because as soon as you get that thought, pew, it's going to signal that hormone. My nails are crazy. I'm about to go get it done. It's going to signal that hormone. It's called norepinephrine and serotonin. Once these signals are either decrease or increase, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be decreased or increased with serotonin, but I know norepinephrine is not good. So when they give you these anxiety medications, or depression medications, it's supposed to like balance the signals out, whether it's for an inhibitor or if it's to increase or decrease. But sometimes with the medications, they don't know your levels, you know what I'm saying? So they have to kind of like test you out. They'll tell you, all right, well, take 10 milligrams, or take 5, or take 15, or take 25 milligrams. And sometimes it'd be too powerful. And if it's too powerful, it does the reverse in treating the situation. It might make you more anxious. So I don't really take the medication all the time, because when I was on the truck, my anxiety wasn't really triggered, only because I got used to that type of stress. I knew what to expect. It's the what not to know or what to wonder about is what increases my stress level, not knowing. So now that I'm off the truck, I don't know what's the next couple weeks going to look like. So my stress is like, it's through the roof. So to tell a person, oh, just calm down, it's really easier said than done. Because once these signals are fired off, there's no going back. Like, you pretend like you go to an amusement park and you get on one of those scary rides. I don't do scary rides, but I've been on one couple before in my past, and I don't like the way it makes me feel. But let's say you go on those rides and you get that feeling of adrenaline going through your body. The adrenaline is going to kick in the amygdala to know something is about to happen to you. Something could be bad or something could be scary. So you start getting all these feelings in your gut. You start sweating, you start shaking, your nervous system is out of whack. So it's the feeling before the ride starts. When the ride starts, the body at that point goes numb and it accepts we're about to go on a scary ride, and the scary ride is happening right now. But that feeling you get before you go completely in full ride, that's the feeling of anxiety. It's like that pre-feeling of like, what's gonna happen? Oh my God, how scary is this ride gonna be? That's how like anxiety feels. And pretend somebody is in the seat with you on the ride and they're telling you, oh, just calm down, just relax. And it's like, the feeling is already here. It's too late to just tell me to just relax. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes music helps me. Music calms me down a little bit, but it depends on what the mood is I have versus the music. So it can't be something sad or that's going to trigger a memory that I'm already dealing with at that point that's not pleasant. So it got to be like a specific type of upbeat song or something like that. So that does help me a little bit. And like I said, I take L-theanine, and I was taking that on a truck. And I don't know where the rest of my pills are because I was packing my stuff, and now I don't know where everything is at. I got to organize my stuff. And that's another thing. It's like organizing my stuff, knowing where stuff is, waking up in the morning, don't know where my toothbrush is because I haven't unpacked yet. All of that is like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get some of that L-theanine right now. Hopefully it does a little something, and I'll see how the rest of my day goes. But like I was saying, when you get those feelings of anxiety, it can kind of take over your body. So you become the outsider looking at yourself. It's like something just takes control of your body, and you're just watching it happen. So now they got this song out called Anxiety. Da, 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 da. I like the beat because it kind of does sound like how anxiety feels. It's like it comes in like ah, and then it's like da, da, da. It's like taking over. But I don't like the videos that portray anxiety. I don't like these TikTok videos where these people are dancing all happily and then there's somebody behind them comes behind them dancing out of control. That part is a good, I say, example of anxiety. But where it throws me off and annoys me is when the person turns around, sees that there's somebody behind them dancing the same way as them, but a little more out of control. And then the person turns around and then they start laughing. When anxiety comes, it don't make you laugh. It make you aggy. It makes your mood become dysregulated. And it takes you out of your comfort zone. So I see a few people, they get that video right. Like I seen this one white girl, she made the video of anxiety, and it was a twin of her, and the person that's supposed to be representing anxiety is like lurking through the window at her, lurking while she's in the bathroom, and it's just like it's lurking behind you, but it looks just like you. So it's telling you you're having sort of an out-of-body experience, and it's haunting you in a way. I think that's a good rendition of anxiety. But to make it so playful where it's just you and your boyfriend come out and he's supposed to be the representation of anxiety and he's just dancing a little bit out of control. No, it'd be hella out of control. And it should show that. It should show the real deal, not like it's... I know they're trying to make light of it, but I just find those videos very annoying because it kind of mocks what really anxiety is. Maybe I might do my own rendition of it if I have time because I'm pretty creative. And I want people to actually see what anxiety looks like. It should be where the person is coming out and the room gets a little darker. Like the lighting gets darker, you feel it coming, and then you turn around and this thing is just doing all kind of like crazy dances, and you're like stuck. You know, you don't just pick up your dance and be like, okay, let me just join it. Because no, it's like a battle. It's like a constant battle internally where you're trying to regain control, and these signals are out of whack. Now, there's a signal called dopamine. That's another neurotransmitter, right? Dopamine is something you might get like if you smoke a cigarette, or if you get high, or if you're in love, or if you're just feeling good. And it gives you like a high it's sort of like a motivator. It gives you a high, you know, it makes you feel good. So now when you get a high from norepinephrine is also a neurotransmitter, but that's what people with anxiety get. They get that trigger. So you might think that they're on a high to get shit done. Like, you know, a person that's a workaholic or a perfectionist, you might be like, oh, they got a lot of dopamine. They always working. No, there's other things that give you a high, and it don't be a good high. So norepinephrine is like a bad high. It's like, you know, you take a hit from some type of bad drug, you're going to be bugging. You're going to feel good. Not good. You're going to feel like doing something, but the doing something is not going to make you calm. It's going to make you more hyper. That's why people with anxiety come off a little bit hyper. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes they might come off a little bit scattered. So like when I got off the plane, that night I was okay. I still felt uneasy because I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So then the next day, I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm literally have jet lag because the time changed from Central Time to Eastern Time. I'm a little fatigued, and I'm still busy in myself trying to figure out, okay, so I'm busy in myself to the point where I don't do anything. I move a few boxes, and then I move them somewhere else. And then I'll go to the bathroom, start a task there. Then I'll go to another room, start a task there. And I'm like, okay, so by the end, like come like mid-evening, I'm like, I haven't done shit. All that moving around and I haven't done shit. So this is what I mean. It's like, if only y'all understood. The people that got this going on, they know what I'm talking about. But it's like the people that don't know what I'm talking about, they'll just look at you like, oh, she just like to be busy. No, I wish I could just sit the fuck down. Okay? I wish I could sit down, just be calm, be cool. So I tried that. I tried to sit down, be calm, be cool. My brain, the thoughts are just racing. I'm like, okay, so let me start reading my book. I start reading my school book. I go from chapter 1, and then I'm like, let me skim to chapter 10. I start going to chapter 10, and I'm like, yeah, let me skim to chapter So it comes off a little bit like ADHD. It is similar, but the neurotransmitters for ADHD is a little bit different than the neurotransmitters for anxiety disorder. We're not going to talk about like all of that right now, but just understand these are brain waves, right? And it's not like just a feeling. Because, you know, feelings can change. Emotions can change. So even if with anxiety, even if you change the feeling or the emotion, the signal is still there. The transmitters are still popping off, still going on, still doing what it do. So it's not going to change what's going on with you. That's the problem. So you just have to kind of like ride this bumpy ride and hope that it just subsides. Like when I was on that plane, it had a lot of turbulence, probably because of the wind factor and all that stuff, right? But the pilot said, hey, we're trying to do the best we can, but we're just going to have to ride this turbulence. We're just going to have to ride this wave. That's how it is. It's like we people with anxiety, you really can't get rid of it. You just got to ride the wave. And it's like, what changes anxiety? A lot of times it's the whole situation you got going on that will subside your anxiety. You can't just, so some people say, well, it's your diet. You don't got enough protein. Technically, it probably could be that. But that's not going to stop your anxiety. So you might say, okay, well, let me trick my brain by changing the diet and hope that it doesn't pop off. it might still come because your brain is smart. It's not stupid. It can tell you're trying to change certain situations. It's kind of like telling the person on the roller coaster ride, hey, just calm down, think sweet thoughts, pretend you on the beach, and just ride this roller coaster like nothing's wrong. No, your brain is going to say there's something wrong. The primitive part of the brain is your amygdala. Humans are primitive creatures. We were taught to become logical. So we were taught to mostly use our frontal cortex, which is in the temporal part of the brain, right? We were taught to use that to reason. Not saying that the amygdala can't reason, but the amygdala reasons on a primitive nature. It's like fight or flight, basically the best way I could say it. So what doctors were realizing is that there's ways you can more tap into the frontal cortex versus the amygdala. The problem with that is if you were traumatized, hold on, my AirPod want to fall out. There's no sun. This car has no tint. I mean, it has a lot of tint, so it looks dark in here, but it's very sunny outside. If you know what, me thinking about the sun and looking at the sky just now really did kind of calm me down a little bit. I probably need to sit somewhere outside and just watch the nature, because that definitely calms me down. Oh, you don't even know. It makes, you know how it calms me down? It makes me not want to think. All my thoughts just go to the back somewhere and hide. But anyways, and then the phone might ring or I might get a notification and here it comes again. So this primitive part of the brain is supposed to be your survival. I don't like being in front of this car. Let me back up because I feel like this person is just all in my grill. Where's my key at? The primitive part of the brain is like a survival thing. It's a survival part of your brain. And that's where it kind of like most of its reasoning will come from that. Right? So pretend you like small and you living in a harsh environment like the ghetto. And everywhere you go is shootouts and robberies and larceny, all kind of crimes, to the point where you're always on extreme vigilance. So now you take that person out of that situation and now you place them in the suburbs. Even if they've been in the suburbs a couple of years or whatever, let's say they hear some type of fireworks or, you know, a car, you know how it makes that exhaust noise and it sound like, you know, boom. And you see this person jumping out of their flesh or they ducking. And you're like, man, what's wrong with you? And they're like, oh, I thought it was a shootout. And you're like, they don't have shootouts here. This is the suburbs. And he's like, well, it's a default setting in my brain that if I hear something that sounds similar or triggers me, I'm going to default back into survival. So sometimes you get into this mode where you stay there. That's your survival tactic. And that's how you get motivated. You get motivated off of that survival instinct. So you're thinking, man, this person's a hustler. Man, this person is, you know, they motivated. No, they're just in survival mode to the fullest. Hold on. Let me move my parking spot. I don't like that parking spot I was at. Okay, let's see here. When I'm making a video, I don't like being around a bunch of cars because I just like to be calm and just in my own little world. Hold on. Alrighty. Okay, as I was saying. Oh, it's even darker over here. Like I was saying, when you're used to a certain environment and your environment is hectic or is loud or it's got a lot going on, you're going to stay in that type of frame of mind even when you're in a different environment. That's the way anxiety works. It's like the mind is always ready for fight or flight. So anything that's similar that can remind them of this might happen, it's going to use that default setting and tap into the amygdala part of the brain versus the reasoning part of the brain. So now a person coming up to you using their frontal cortex to tell you, hey, there's no reason why you should feel anxious. There's no reason. There's nothing. There's no threat. Everything is okay. And you're looking like, try going in my brain and telling my brain to reprogram itself to say there's nothing wrong. Once that neurotransmitter hits the brain, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to ride the wave and do things to soothe you. Some people get emotional, emotional animals. What do they call that? Not emotional animals, emotional support animals. Some people have to get emotional support animals. Some people use bad coping mechanisms like drugs and alcohol. Some people, they use techniques like running a warm bath, soothing sounds like white noise. White noise works for me. A nice warm bath works a little bit, but these are temporary things that help you for that temporary situation. But every time it happens, you need to be prepared. Okay, this can possibly happen. So it's a hard thing to feel that at any point it can pop off. You're already worrying about it coming, and then now when it comes, you got to worry about how to get rid of it. This is what goes through our brain 24/7. Same thing with people with ADHD. It's like a constant high of nervousness. Pretend you had to go do a speech and you got a fear of public speaking, and you got to go on this public platform and speak to people every day. That feeling, that's what we deal with. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention, that it's not just because your life could be hectic at that point. It's like you bring the hectic into your life, no matter what the setting is. So people looking at you like, why are you always nervous? Is because that's the setting. That's the default setting, unfortunately. So sometimes I try to reason it out and I say, okay, nothing's wrong. Everything is calm. That works sometimes. But the brain, I'm telling you, the brain is the most powerful tool. Sometimes you can't even stop what it got going on. So when I seen it come this morning to the fullest, it came from the night before. I had that dream. I took a melatonin, and the melatonin didn't even calm it down. The melatonin helped me to sleep, but it didn't stop the dreams. It didn't stop the dream state. Now, when I take the L-theanine, I would say my dreams are actually less intrusive, less volatile. And some of these things come from repressed thoughts that I talk about in the unconscious mind, that it wants to talk about it in the dream state and release. So it could be things that I'm holding back, that I'm not coming to grips with. You know what I'm saying? Like things that's going on in my life. It could be a lot of things. But I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, these are things that humans go through that they don't recognize. But it's like, okay, now that you recognize it, what do you do about it? You have to now take action to help yourself. Because if you ignore it, I'm looking at this text message. If you ignore it, it could get to the point where it could become debilitating. Mine's, I try to catch it before it gets debilitating, where it's like panic attacks. Panic attacks come from a lot of repression. So finally, when it releases, it's too overwhelming at that point. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I had going on these last 2 days. I couldn't even think. I was doing things and I wasn't getting nowhere. Every morning I'm waking up doing something, and I felt like I was just walking around in circles. And maybe it's just the transition of getting off the truck, and I'm so used to being on the road now. I spent 4 months on the road and only took I think 2 home times, right? Because I'm really trying to save up a lot of money before the end of the year so I can just get out of trucking and go into psychology. Now I got to think about taking the behavioral analyst exam. That's after you get your master's. You can take the certificate exam to become a behavioral analysis specialist. So it's kind of similar to counseling, where you got to do clinicals, but with this, you don't have to do clinicals. You just maybe I think you got to do a little bit of supervision at a particular job, and then you qualify to take the behavioral analysis certification exam. There's 2 levels to that exam. I don't know the whole details, but I was thinking about all of that yesterday. I was like, where am I going to find time to do this full trucking, finish school, take the certificate? And sometimes I think back like, damn, I had 3 kids. I didn't really have time to really get a life. And now when my kids are older, I was always happy to be free when they get older, but it seems like I'm still not free. I'm still boggled down by the expectations of making it in this world and becoming successful. And then when you have a partner who you feel like, sometimes when you're in a relationship, you feel like the partner is going to judge you if you don't make it. Your friends and family are going to judge you if you don't make it. People put a lot of stake in me. They do. Like I told y'all, I'm the second oldest to my family, and my oldest sister died, so I became the oldest. And it got to a point where it became too overwhelming that everybody came to me for advice, for money, for a place to stay. And then I got to the point where I just said enough is enough. I'm cutting all y'all effers off, right? But even with cutting people off, there's still a backlash to that, because there's people that's connected to them that I care about. So if I don't like that person, but I like the person that they gave birth to, or somebody else that they close to, I still got to somewhat interact with the situation, and I'll still find out about the drama going on that I didn't want to hear about. You see what I'm saying? It's like you just can't get away from toxic people. So I internalize that sometimes, because there's still people in that situation that I will care about that I don't want to see in pain, or so I get burdened with other people's burden just by the thought of it. Not me physically being in it, but just the thought of knowing somebody I love is going through something and hurting, and maybe I could do something about it or I can't, but it still affects me because I'm an empath. I'm sensitive, but I got anxiety. That don't help. So all these things I have to battle on a daily basis, and it's a spiritual warfare too, because there's people that, even though they rooting for me, they got the opposite people wishing for my downfall, praying for my downfall, doing witchcraft and all kind of stuff. Just the thought of it is daunting. There's so much energy out here on this planet. So much forces. It's good and bad. So it's like, I feel it sometimes. I feel these forces. So it doesn't really help my condition knowing that a lot of people rely on me, and every decision needs to be, a good decision, a successful decision. So that pressure, it becomes pressure. So now that I'm older, you can't make as many mistakes as you get older too. Not saying you can't, but technically you don't want to, because sometimes when you get older, these mistakes can devastate your life. Because if you work hard to build something and you make one stupid mistake, like quit your job or something stupid, and you ain't really have a plan. Like I be hearing these older people, they saying they quitting their job and they gonna live in their car, and then you see them a month later crying in their car, thinking, I'm just like, well, what did you thought was gonna happen? You thought living in your car was gonna be sweet? Like, now you gotta plan out where you're gonna park the night. It's just, you can't really make impulse decisions when you get older like that. You gotta think your life out properly. People not gonna feel as sorry for you and be like, oh, come sleep on my couch. No, you 50-something years old. Anybody gonna be like, come sleep on my couch, okay? Now, if you're 20, yeah, come sleep on my couch. Think about what you need to do for your life and stay as long as you need, as long as you don't bring no drugs and people up in my house. People gonna do that for you. But when you get older, they're gonna be like, so what happened? How did you get here? What happened in the last 20 years? What was you doing with your life? What was you, you know what I mean? Now, devastating things happen outside of your control. So if you have a real good story, yeah, people gonna help you. But if they hear a lot of it was because of you and how you think and what you did, they're gonna be like, yo, you need to, you're not gonna figure it out on my couch. Sorry. So that's why I'm like, I don't want people to judge me because I might make an impulsive decision when I'm having moments of anxiety. You see what I'm saying? Because that's another thing that people don't talk about. When you have anxiety, your impulse control can be out of whack as well. And you might make